Hello and welcome to Gadget Joe, and today we're taking a look at some security cameras that are strong. Hello folks and welcome back to the channel again, and today we're taking a look at another CCTV system with an offering by Strong this time. Strong have featured on this channel multiple times now and have consistently been solid offerings, with the added benefit of being incredibly affordable. So this kit has some pretty big boots to fill. What we have here is one of their NVR systems, which comes in different variations of 4, 8 and 12 channels. We have the 4 channel version with us today, which will allow us to connect up to 4 cameras at the same time. The others allow for more cameras if you wanted to have a larger setup, ideal for a large home or alternatively a business premises. We also have 2 of their cameras in the form of a Bullet DL4AP and the Turret 45D. These are just 2 of a vast array of offerings that they have, as seen here on the screen right now. They produce smart home cameras and turret cameras for indoor use in different video qualities, and also the Bullet style camera that are more suited for outdoors. They do have a super dark version too, which will be ideal for really dark locations with the additional assistance of extra LED lights. I also have a waterproof junction box that is ideal for mounting the cameras outside to help with cable management to make things that little bit easier. In this video, I'm going to be looking into 3 main categories: the pricing and the value, the installation, setup and build quality, and last but not least, the performance. And then obviously I'm going to assess how effective or not effective they are. They can be picked up, like a lot of the Strong products, for a pretty reasonable price too. The NVR itself can be picked up for around £70 depending on where you shop, which puts it among some of the cheaper options on the market without going to the Temu or AliExpress systems, that have from my experience been plagued with issues. I'll be keen to see if the low price reflects on quality at all. It is worth mentioning now that the NVR does not come with a hard drive for that price. I'll touch a bit more on that shortly. The camera units themselves are also pretty affordable too, which is very welcoming, especially if you're going to look to set up a large multi-camera setup. Both the Turret and the Bullet cameras can be picked up for around £30 too. You're going to need to purchase an additional Ethernet cable too for this setup, for some reason they don't come included with any of them in any of the boxes. I can sort of understand why, because they have no way to tell just how much you're going to need, and obviously every installation is going to be a little bit different, so some people will need a shorter length, or other people will need a longer length. They do not specify any certain Ethernet cable for this, but I can imagine anything would do. Personally, I would probably try and opt for a Cat5 cable at the very least to ensure the best data transfer possible, although there's no real reason that a Cat4 or possibly a Cat3 wouldn't work. This is where you need to do a bit of work on your own behalf, because these are not Wi-Fi enabled cameras. They operate via Ethernet cable connectivity. So you're going to need to work out the location of your NVR box, and then you will need to work out the distance from the box to the desired locations you want to install your cameras. Take into consideration any corners, rooms, walls, etc. in the way too. This is also a good argument for opting for a Cat5 cable or more, especially if you're going to be doing a long run from the NVR to the camera. In fact, I'll leave a link down below to one of the Prevo 5-meter Cat6 Ethernet cables that will be ideal thanks to the extra length. I would probably recommend for a longer run or multi-camera setup to get a local CCTV installer in to get everything set up and liaise with them to gather the recommended cable length needed. Most of them will even provide you with the cable needed too, albeit most likely at a little bit of a higher markup in price for the convenience. So with that brief bit out of the way, let's get to the products themselves. The boxes look fantastic, nice, clear and colourful, with some key information across the boxes. Very consistent with the Strong packaging from what we've seen before. Inside the NVR box, you get the unit itself in a clear plastic bag. The design looks nice and tidy with a Strong logo to the left. A nice stripe going along the bottom, and 3 lights for power, recording and alarm. On the sides are ventilation grills, and on the rear is lots of I/O. Starting with 4 RJ45 Ethernet ports that each provide 12 volts of power individually, 4 LED lights, an RJ45 LAN connectivity port, 2 USB 2 ports, a HDMI port, audio in and out, a VGA port, and a 48 volt power port, and finally a little on-off switch. On the bottom are 4 rubber feet and then 4 mounting holes for wall mounting the unit. You also get a 48 volt power supply and 4 mounting screws in the box. The brick is large, so you're going to need to take that into consideration too when wall mounting. Finally, you get a little mouse to operate through the menus and navigate the system. It's nothing special, but will do the job just fine. Now is the perfect time to get the NVR open using these 6 screws located here, as you can see now on the screen. Once they're all undone, you can remove the top cover, which is, I might add, very flimsy. but once screwed in place, it's pretty strong and it should be perfectly fine. Inside is the control unit itself, and a simple cable to the front lights, and then a big empty space to store your hard drive using these cables. I have used an SSD for this one just because I had some lying around, but it will support up to 8 TB of memory. Bigger drives are much more affordable with the larger hard drives than the SSDs. Once in, it doesn't have anywhere really to secure itself, which is a bit disappointing. Fortunately, I had some 3M foam adhesive pads, but I stuck to the drive and to the carcass, and it's not going anywhere. It would be nice to see something included for mounting the drives. Secure the lid back on, screw everything back in, and you are good to go. Now we move on to the first of the two cameras with a Bullet DL4AP, and the box looks great again with lots of key information all around the box, which we will look at into more detail shortly. Inside is pretty simple. You get the camera itself and a mounting template sticker. The camera itself is quite large but lightweight. It feels nice and robust, and the movement can be changed by rotating this nut here. The lens itself is at the front with normal and IR LEDs along the bottom. It has a lip across the top to help with shade and drip protection. It's a nice clean aesthetic too in all white. It has 2 cable ports, an RJ45 or 12 volt port, and you get a waterproof RJ45 connector and some mounting screws too. For the second camera we have a Turret 45D with a similar story once again on the box. Inside you get very much the same as the Bullet with a mounting template sticker, the camera itself and mounting hardware. The Turret is an indoor camera, so the waterproof RJ45 connector that you get with it seems a little bit unnecessary, but it's nice to have. The unit itself is nice and compact with a large lens, LEDs and IR LEDs. It carries a nice white aesthetic all around again, and the actual camera can be rotated by unscrewing the base as you can see here. It is effectively just a spear that can be secured into position by the screw mount. The cable can be hidden inside the base also on this one for flush mounting. You get the same 2 cable connectors on this unit also. Finally, we have the waterproof junction box, which is a nice addition for mounting and additional waterproofing protection. The unit is quite large, but well made with mounting holes for the cameras directly onto the front. It features a plastic gland with a rubber grommet for a watertight seal if you run the cables through this. There are also 2 caps that can be removed for cable access at the side or the rear. Opening it up is simple via these 3 screws. Inside is a simple open space that can house the RJ45 and 12 volt connectors of the camera to keep it out of the elements neatly. There is also a rubber gasket all the way around for extra water tightness. So now that we've got the unboxing out of the way, we can get to setting it all up, and this is the perfect opportunity to go over the specifications of the system, and then we can put some of the features to the test. The NVR has support for up to 4 cameras using the 4 PoE or Power over Ethernet RJ45 ports, which in turn means that it can not only provide image and video data, but also power to the cameras just through that one single cable. It has support for up to 8 TB hard drive storage for maximum footage storage. It also has cloud playback, which means when connected to a network via Ethernet, you can see all your connected cameras via app remotely with support for up to a maximum of 8 megapixel resolution. The HDMI port supports up to 4K image output too, for high resolution imaging and video. The cameras are quite similar in retrospect, but here are the specs either way. The DL4AP is a bullet style camera named for its shape. It features IR and full colour white light vision for daytime and nighttime recording. 5 megapixel resolution, IP67 waterproof rating, a built-in microphone for audio recording, features like motion, human or vehicle detection, so it can distinguish between each, NVR or cloud recording, and can be controlled via the NVR or the Strong app, which we'll look at very shortly. The 45D is a turret-style camera named for a spherical shape that can be rotated 360 degrees. It has the same specs as the DL4AP listed here, however this unit is not waterproof, so it's designed to be used indoors only. Both cameras record in H.265+ or high efficiency video coding, meaning it can compress file size whilst retaining video quality, which is ideal for a data-driven live video source like a security camera. Installation is super simple with the system thanks to the single wire design. All you need to do is plug in your NVR into the power source, connect it to your TV or monitor via the HDMI or VGA ports. Be aware that the VGA ports will not support 4K imagery. Connect your mouse and then you are ready to connect to the cameras. Before you do this, you need to determine the positioning and installation of your cameras in your selected location. The higher the better for the outdoor cameras to allow for wider image coverage, but also to keep it out of arm's reach of anybody wanting to try and tamper with it. The indoor camera can be mounted pretty much anywhere you wish. Once you have done these, you need to route the cables to your box. Make sure you have the right cable length, and then you just simply plug in the Ethernet cables into the ports labelled 1, 2, 3 and 4, depending on how many cameras you have, and you're pretty much all hooked up and ready to go. If you want to control your camera setup via the app or record to the cloud, then you're going to need to connect it to your internet using the LAN port here. Unfortunately, this kit does not benefit from Wi-Fi capabilities, which is a bit of a shame as it does need another lengthy cable if your system is not near your router. Alternatively, you could do it like me, that I have done in my studio, and taken advantage of a Wi-Fi extender. They can be picked up mega cheap and just plugged into a power point next to your system, and then you can connect that to your NVR. In fact, Strong even sell powerline adapters and Wi-Fi repeaters too, which I'll be sure to link down below if you want to order everything as a whole. Powering on the NVR for the first time will bring you to a prompt screen to input details such as language, time and date, hard drive information, network details and so on. Once you have entered all the details and set up, you are then presented with this screen with 4 squares on it. Click on Add Device to go to this page. Your connected cameras should then show up here at the bottom if all correctly installed. Each camera will need connecting up as they currently say disconnected. Click this little pen icon here and you get the channel setup page. This part is where things got a little bit complicated as it's not very well instructed for this setup. When it says username and password, you would automatically assume that this is the same as the one that you set up in setup. However, when you try that, it does nothing and the camera still says disconnected. What you actually have to do is find the little sticker on each camera that has a QR code and some details on it, and find the 6-digit password stated on it. Write it down somewhere, and this is where you put this password in on the page instead of your preset password you set earlier, and then the camera will automatically connect. Once you have repeated this process for all the cameras, you are ready to view them. Either click the live button at the top or right click your mouse to get to the main screen, and now you will see your cameras working. Click on any of the panels to bring up a full-sized preview of each camera. There are plenty of submenus too on the setup, the first being the playback tab, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can select the time and date of each camera to look back at it. Here you can get a good idea of the image quality of the cameras, especially focusing in on my unfortunately messy garden that needs a good clean. Both the nighttime and daytime images look fantastic, and you can see the person tracking function here with the little arrows above the head. You can flick through different display options too on the bottom right from single view, 4 panels, 6 or 8. The System tab has basic options such as language, resolution, time, login details, user interface, colours, system log showing any alarms, notifications and more. A maintenance tab for rebooting and a page to check for software version and error tabs. Pressing channel takes you to the camera connection page. The IPC tab is a little bit more advanced and shows how the cameras work in terms of detection using 440 individual zones. This allows the cameras to detect and distinguish between motion, people and vehicles. It even has area and boundary detection so that you can isolate a desired space to monitor, which is super impressive for a camera of this price point. You can also change night vision settings, camera colour details, encoding, audio and on-screen display settings and device info. The Network tab shows all network info. The Recording tab shows details of your hard drive. It will even allow you to individually set up times in slots that you want the system to record. It also has backup options and error detection for the hard drive, which is a very nice additional feature too. There are additional quick shortcuts on the bottom, including the Cloud Service tab, which brings up 2 QR codes, so that you can download the app by one of the QR codes, which is called Vision by Strong, and then use the other QR code to connect the NVR to your app, which then mirrors what you can see on the NVR setup, as you can see right here. Which brings me onto the app. It's called Vision by Strong, and you can either search for it on Google Play Store or Apple Store or use your QR code. Here you can link up your system via the QR code as shown earlier, and you now have live access to your camera setup, as you can see here. It also shows the person detection system on the app. In fact, you can do everything on the app that the NVR itself can do, which is fantastic. The quality looks absolutely brilliant too, and the user interface is nice and responsive, which is ideal in certain scenarios. You can even change your detection settings and screenshot images live. Going back takes you to the main page, and in the Settings tab is where you can access all of the settings that we discussed earlier on the video. You can access your messages, which are usually motion alerts, and then set up a cloud subscription service. They offer a 30-day free trial too if you wish to see how it works and then see how you find it. It's a surprisingly intuitive little app actually, and you can even add multiple setups. So if you have 2 or more NVR systems, either for work, home or holiday lets, etc., then you can add them all to this one app and see them all at the same time on this page. What's more is you can go one step further too. If you have a strong Android TV box like one of the ones that I covered recently on the channel, as you can also get the app working on that. It operates very much the same way as the phone app, albeit with slightly less control. But it does mean that you can access your cameras straight from your TV, so if you hear a noise halfway through your shows or your film, then you can obviously flick straight to it. I'm not 100% sure if it will work on any Android TV box. I can't imagine there being many reasons why it wouldn't, but I do know that it works perfectly on the Strong TV boxes. And that brings us to the end of my review of a Strong CCTV kit featuring their 4-channel NVR unit, the DL4AP Bullet and the 45D turret camera, and I was left feeling impressed with it all, but there are a few niggly gripes to it. The setup is nice and simple. Having just the one cable to power and provide the image from is very welcome, as opposed to a lot of the older dual cable systems. The Ethernet cable means a nice high quality image too, with fast data transfers, especially if you use a higher speed cable too. The cameras feel nice and well built, albeit a little bit plasticky, but they are substantial enough for sure. They look nice too, and have some pretty decent features for a price point too. Having the human, vehicle and motion detection is a nice little touch with the system too, alongside the border and area control. Being able to schedule recording times too is pretty cool. The images look nice and clear, bright and colourful, and the night vision looks great too, even in the studio that has no external light source at all when the lights are off. The interface is a bit tricky to get the hang of initially, and the fact that they don't state anywhere how to individually add each camera, as we found out earlier, is a bit of an issue. However, it's a simple fix, and I have highlighted it in this video, and with special thanks to Dan over at Target Components for his support in finding the solution, he has assured me that he's going to be relaying with Strong directly to include more documentation of how to do this setup, so that rest assured when it comes to you setting it up, it should hopefully be a non-issue. Once set up though, the interface was nice and simple to use. It looks quite basic, but then it's a CCTV setup, so it doesn't really need to be anything fancy. Accessing recorded footage is simple to do and quick to access too. The app is simple to use, and then having the app available on the Strong TV boxes too is also a nice touch, so you can flick to the app if you want to monitor your system straight from the comfort of your TV. The downsides could be deemed pretty trivial, but I'll outline some of my quote-unquote issues anyhow. The lack of Wi-Fi is a bit disappointing. Certainly not a deal breaker by any means, but it would be nice to see the addition of a Wi-Fi module in the setup. It could eliminate the need to run that extra cable or having to add a Wi-Fi repeater to your setup, especially considering it's not a huge amount of network data needed. Even a lower speed module would suffice. I did toy with the idea of adding a USB Wi-Fi adapter on the second USB port to see if it would work, but I didn't want to risk any potential damage to either. But if it could work, then that could be a little solution to the issue. I'll be sure to contact Strong directly and ask the question about that, and update with my findings in the comment section below. Initial setup is tricky without the documentation of adding individual cameras via password as discussed earlier, but that's something that's being proactively sorted as we speak, so again, probably more of a non-issue. The fact that when you have installed your hard drive, there are no mounts or even adhesive foam pads included can be an issue if you opt to use a larger 3.5-inch hard drive, because they are rather heavy, and if you tip the NVR to its side to wall mount it or put it up somewhere, and the drive falls from one side to the other, it could potentially cause some damage to the internal board of the device. This is a pretty easy fix though if they threw in a couple of adhesive foam pads like the ones that I used, as opposed to having to include a separate mounting system. And that's pretty much it for the issues. They are really not direct issues of a product itself, but more inconveniences to the user and could easily be fixed. An experienced CCTV installer will no doubt have the tools and know how to set this system up very quickly, but it's also nice to know that you can set it up for yourself relatively easily too. Other than these, the system is a very solid system with some impressive features, especially considering the price point too. I can definitely and confidently recommend this system if you are looking to add CCTV to your home or business and don't want to spend a lot, but also don't want to lose out on any quality. It certainly carries a feeling of a much more expensive system, so it's definitely something to consider if you are wanting to add some security to your home or work. As always, there will be links to each product in the description, Whilst you're down there, don't forget to click like and subscribe to show your support to the channel. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.